Hello and welcome to the first edition of Issues with Jide for the year 2023. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, DSS arrest ISWAP men who bombed Okene during Buhari's visit. Also, reactions trail Obasanjo's endorsement of Peter Obi. And then in the course of the program, we'll take your questions. But first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you again this year. BKO.
Yeah, it's good to do this with you, all the way from the sunny city of Yola in Adamawa State.
Right. So let's set the boat rolling. A high commander of ISWAP and his associates who masterminded the recent bomb blast near the palace of Ohinoi of Ibiraland in Okene, Kogi State, has been arrested by the DSS. What signal does this send to us as Nigerians?
Yeah, you see, I have spoken in the past about the efforts of the ISWAP to set up bases between the FCT in Abuja and Kogi State, Lokoja in Kogi State. We are seeing that coming to reality. I warned about the fact that ISWAP was planning to set up as many bases as possible between the Federal Capital Territory and Lokoja in Kogi State. ISWAP has now shown that it has presence in Kogi State. There is no debate about this anymore. We have terrorists who have set up their bases outside of the Northeast, outside of the Northwest, in the North Central, and part of the Southwest, especially Ondo North. Otaru, who was arrested, shot in the leg while trying to escape, is an ISWAP commander who has been setting up cells in Kogi and some parts of the North Central. He's been involved in a number of attacks, and fortunately, I will say that the men of the DSS who had been on his trail were able to arrest him while trying to escape. They shot him in the leg. And then one of his foot soldiers, Saidu Suleiman, who is also an ISWAP commander, was also arrested and injured in the attempt to escape. He has carried out terrorist attacks and kidnappings in Kogi State, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, just before his arrest. On the 24th of June, Otaru was involved in the killing of 2 policemen in Eika in Kogi State. Eika is a community in Ibiraland. On the 5th of July, 2022, he was part of those who breached the security at Kuje prisons and set free ISWAP members. On the 5th of August, Otaru led the attack on West African Ceramic Company, Ajaokuta, during which they kidnapped some of the expatriates, killed an Indian expatriate, killed 2 drivers, and killed 2 policemen. The expatriates who were kidnapped in that attack were released on the 31st of August in Borno State. You can imagine carrying, they paid ransom. He collected ransom in Borno State. You can imagine kidnapping someone in Kogi State and collecting ransom in dollars in Borno State. That's to tell you the network of this individual. So this is a warning to us. We should stop fooling ourselves that these guys have been defeated and can only operate in only a small part of our country. Whoever says that terrorists have been defeated and have been limited to a small part of our country needs to get his head examined, because these terrorists are present in more places than we know. The attack on St. Francis Catholic Church, or the bombing of the church and the killing of many people, was masterminded by ISWAP men. These terrorists are cashing in on the proximity of Kogi State to Ondo North to enter the southwest and carry out attacks in the southwest. So Otaru and his people were involved in the attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo. So they are already doing their best to get into the southwest. The attack on the church in Owo was a clear terrorist attack. There is something called signature of crime, whereby when so the point that I'm making is talking about signature of crime. There are, when a criminal commits an offense, he leaves some trails. Investigators can use some of what they found at the scene to identify the criminal in terms of the idiosyncrasies of the criminal. So Otaru left what you call signature of crime at the scene of the vehicle laden bomb attack in Kogi, which enabled investigators to link him to the crime, because he's been on the radar of the DSS for some time, and there are certain things that they look for. Once those things are consistent with past deeds of the criminal, it will then set off alarm bells and get the investigators to start thinking in a particular direction, to get themselves convinced that this crime could have been carried out by this fellow, because this is the way this fellow carries out attacks. So the signature of crime ultimately leads the signature of crime that the criminal leaves behind ultimately leads to the arrest of the criminal, you know. So this is what we have seen. Killing policemen, killing bus passengers, attacking and kidnapping people. These are things that Otaru and his men had been doing for some time, and no one should be in any doubt that ISIS, because of the pressure, because of the relentless bombing that they are facing I said ISIS, ISWAP, because of the relentless bombing that they are facing in the Northeast, they are moving to other parts of our country. And we have to be vigilant, we have to be ready, and we must realize that they have set up their cells already in some parts of our country. Some of the attacks that we actually attribute to bandits are actually carried out by these ISWAP men, because these days there's a thin line dividing the bandits and there's a thin line between the bandits and the terrorists. They are involved in kidnapping for money. They are involved in all kinds of things that are similar. So
Right.
I would say that this is a wake-up call for us. Thankfully, the president and his minders were not injured in the attack, but it's terrible for a president to be visiting a town and then terrorists will go and launch an attack near the palace of the emir of the community that the president was visiting.
Absolutely.
So there's a need for greater vigilance as we go on in this year, the year that we will have elections. No one should doubt that these guys can carry out, will carry out more attacks as the days roll by. So this is the reality. We commend the DSS for their efforts in arresting these guys. We commend them for the arrest of the fellows who bombed the St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo. Ultimately, based on their hard work, we will be able to reduce incidents of bombing and banditry in our country, if not exterminate it completely.
Right. Yeah, Fabian Akeze says the president and his aides continue to claim that the security situation in Nigeria is far better than they met it, yet the president continues to be embarrassed. Nelson Adufe, Tony Goodman says, Jide, I must commend the professionalism exhibited by the DSS. If it were police, they would have shot him dead, just as they did in the case of Boko Haram leader Yusuf. Nelson Adufe now says here, please be clear, what do you think should be the lasting solution to insecurity, as bombing is the adopted tactics now, and election is just few days from now?
We have to work harder. Intelligence gathering is key. Otaru was a student of ABU, Zaria, and he had been showing this kind of traits from his days in school. He was an extremist, you know, and he was even said to have gone to Afghanistan for training in terrorism. So we have to keep getting information, looking for information about the criminals who live in our midst. We need intelligence gathering and the technology that will help us improve in the area of intelligence gathering. Government must invest heavily in it this year so that we can nip in the bud these attacks before they happen. It was particularly embarrassing for a governor like Abelo, who had done so much in the area of security, for his state to come under the kind of attack that it has come under. It's not palatable at all, and I'm sure that he will be embarrassed where he is, that this even happened on his happy day, on the day when the president was visiting the state to inaugurate some projects. People have said that Yabelo had never invited the president to inaugurate projects, but he invited the president, and on that day, some terrorists decided to unleash a vehicle-laden bomb on the community. So we have to work harder at intelligence gathering. Whoever says that we have defeated terrorism, they know in their hearts that they are lying. But people who are practiced liars will keep lying. They will not stop. Whatever you do or say to them, they will not stop, because they are stuck in trade to lie.
Absolutely.
The governor of Borno State has now come out to tell us that Boko Haram controls 2 local governments in the state. That is Kukawa local government and Guzamala local government. Guzamala local government is the local government of the Speaker of the Borno State House of Assembly. He has been shouting himself hoarse that there is not a single soldier in his local government, that there is nobody, civilians are not living in his local government because that place is a Boko Haram area. Boko Haram once killed more than 150 soldiers in one day in Gudumbali, the local government headquarters of Guzamala local government in Borno State. So we can understand that that is a community with a history of Boko Haram activity. So the governor has repeated what the speaker said, that Guzamala local government is under Boko Haram control. Now, the governor has also said Kukawa local government is also under Boko Haram control, but he's happy to report that other communities are safe. The truth is, we cannot declare victory over the enemy. The enemy still controls some areas of Borno State, of the northeast. Even in Yobe State, there are still areas that Boko Haram is very active and are in control of. You know, we can't continue to deceive ourselves. There are areas that you cannot go unless you have very thick, very long military convoy to take you to those places. We can't be doing that if we have defeated the enemy. It is because we recognize that the enemy is still there. We have to give credit to our soldiers for their efforts.
Absolutely.
But there is still work to be done.
Yeah. So let's change tack by discussing our second topic, which is about the OBJ-OB endorsements. Since then, divergent views have continued to trail the endorsement of Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Critics who described Obasanjo as a political paperweight said the endorsement was worthless. How do you appraise this?
Yes, Obasanjo cannot win an election for anyone. People have got to realize that he is no longer active as a politician. He moved out of the PDP and set his membership card ablaze in 2015 because he wrote a letter against Jonathan, and the Jonathan administration responded angrily to his letter. Because of that, he got angry, decided to support the APC. He made sure that Jonathan, whom he had installed as president, did not return. He destroyed his membership card. He said he was no longer interested in partisan politics, or that he wanted to be on the sidelines. Ideally, what many people wanted to see was for Obasanjo to remain a statesman and not, since he had said that he was no longer interested in partisan politics. Because I remember PDP governors and PDP leaders went to see him in Ota with the desire to have him return fully to the party. And he said, no, I'm not interested in partisan politics anymore. But when you come out openly to endorse a candidate in a race that is potentially combustible, potentially close, like the one that we are seeing now, it means that you are still very much in politics. What people want to see is for Obasanjo to remain on the sidelines, give advice to other politicians, but not come out openly to say that I have endorsed a particular individual. Listen to what Sule Lamido, former governor of Jigawa State and foreign affairs minister under Obasanjo, is saying. He's saying, look, you, Obasanjo, shouldn't have endorsed anybody outside of PDP because PDP made you who you are. PDP made you president. You are grateful to PDP by supporting someone outside of the PDP, by adopting a candidate outside of the PDP. And I think that's the way others feel too. Kwankwaso too is saying, look, all this, that was a mistake that Obasanjo made by endorsing Obi. And Kwankwaso even went to the point of saying some of these endorsements are motivated by ethnic reasons and religious reasons. I don't think Obasanjo plays the ethnic card. He's one of the Nigerians that you can actually look at him and say, this is a detribalized Nigerian by his antecedent, by what he's done. But a lot of the politicians will want to see Obasanjo behave like IBB. IBB is still very much a PDP member, but there is a way in which he does his things. He knows that he has loyalists, mentees across the political party, so he's careful to not come out to say, look, this is the person that I want. There is a level to which you reach that you've got to slow down and not be seen to be partisan in this kind of contest. Abdul Salam Abubakar, you will never be able to say this is a party to which he belongs. There's no doubt he will have sympathy for some party, but he's managed it very well. That is what Obasanjo has not done. Because Obasanjo sees himself as all-knowing, he sees himself as somebody that God gave the wisdom that he did not give the rest of us. Therefore, he believes that his opinion has to his opinion is usually the one that reflects the greatest wisdom and all that. That is the problem with him. Obasanjo, just as Sule Lamido, I had never seen Sule Lamido criticize Obasanjo except this time. In fact, Sule Lamido came out to say, did he not attempt to do third term? Is third term fair? You know, that was the first time. And he went on to say that Obasanjo took that decision because he's angry with Atiku and he does not like Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And as far as Sule Lamido is concerned, these two individuals are too strong, too powerful for him, you know, and he believes that he will not enjoy the dominance that he enjoys in the Nigerian space if someone like Tinubu or even Atiku were to emerge as a president. So he does not want a strong character to emerge. Obasanjo, as a patriot, needs to get his act right. He has to try his best to stay in the middle, because in this kind of contest, given who he is, given the level that he has reached, he has to be careful. You know, even in the US, we see former presidents, some of them finding it difficult to even go and campaign for candidates of their party, because they are loved, there's bipartisan respect for them. I think that's the sort of role that God has given Obasanjo, but he refuses to realize that, you know, at this stage, he will be respected a lot more if he tried to be even-handed, you know, if he did not put a candidate over and above others. We said that for this contest, someone like Obi has the energy that we need for a time like this. Obi can salvage Nigeria, Obi can restore Nigeria, and all that. And he also admitted that none of the candidates is a saint, but that he believed that Obi was better than was the best. I'm happy that Obasanjo admitted that there is no saint among the candidates. Obasanjo himself is not a saint. Anyone who can allow his cousin to embezzle money in the Ministry of Defense and then went on to instruct the Attorney General to enter into a nolle prosequi so that the fellow does not go to jail, he cannot call himself a saint. He's part of the problem of our country. Because if you are truly an anti-corruption crusader, why would you allow your own cousin, Makonjola, to get away with stealing Nigerian money? Well, that was what happened. That was what happened. It was a palmsec. And they got away with it. They entered into nolle prosequi. The case died right there. The case was discontinued. No one will believe that Obasanjo, with all the noise that he makes about his love for the anti-corruption war, the fact that he created both ICPC and EFCC, will allow someone, no matter how close that person is to him, to get away with stealing hundreds of millions of our money. You know, so no one really is a saint. No one is a saint. And I think that Obasanjo's endorsement of Peter Obi has really ruffled feathers. People can argue that it's his opinion, but there's a level to which you reach that you have to realize that you have people who adore you across party lines. And therefore, in order not to offend such people, you have to treat everyone, treat all of them like your children, you know, bless them in equal measure and allow them to go into the race. So it's really terrible, some of what people have said about Obasanjo at this time because of this endorsement. For Obi, is another feather to his cap. He will be happy where he is.
Absolutely.
That he has Obasanjo's endorsement. But Obasanjo's endorsement cannot win the election for him because Obasanjo does not have political value. He cannot win an election for anyone. But we know that Obasanjo is also someone that you must cultivate because in Yoruba we say kole funwara but ole dawara. Obasanjo may not have electoral value, but he can damage your chances with his mouth. When he grants, he can demarket you considerably with his mouth. You know, that's why people cultivate him. They want him on their side because of the kind of interviews that he could be granting, diminishing your stature as a candidate. So that's the way he is. Even in Owu, I don't think Obasanjo has the power to get people to vote for a particular candidate. He does not have that, even at the height of his powers. He didn't have that kind of power. Remember, even in 1999, he was defeated across Yoruba land by Olufalaye. So I don't think by himself he can win an election for anyone. And that's what Tinubu is saying, that I don't need you to support me. You are jealous of me. I don't need you to support me. I will win in spite of your support. If he endorsed Atiku 2019, it didn't stop Atiku from losing. So that is it. Obasanjo endorsing you is no guarantee of victory for you. So Obi must realize that and continue to work hard at his game. Continue to campaign and behave like the endorsement is not there, because the endorsement cannot deliver victory to him. Okay. That is the truth.
Right. Fabian Akeze says, President Obasanjo endorsing Peter Obi does not mean nothing. Peter Obi will lose the presidential election by a huge margin. Peter Obi should never have left APGA. That's his opinion. Tony Goodman says, nobody can fault Obasanjo's disposition when it comes to national issues. Kwankwaso, Tinubu, and Atiku visited, but he failed to endorse them because they have nothing to offer. That's according to Tony Goodman. And James Morgan says, Obasanjo contested, he won in 1999. Obasanjo contested, he won in 2003. He endorsed Umaru Aradua for president. He won in 2007. Obasanjo endorsed Goodluck Jonathan for presidency. He won in 2011. These are the comments here. Okay, well, these people are actually repeating a lot of, they're actually making repeated comments. So, Bike, what would you say to some of these submissions, especially the one from James Morgan, saying that he had actually endorsed some candidates and they won?
It wasn't because he endorsed them that they won. It wasn't because he endorsed them that he won. No. In talking about Yaradua, even Yaradua came out to say the election that he won was rigged. That is well known. Yaradua came out to say, look, the election that I won was rigged. So in Ogun State, in the presidential election, the votes returned for the PDP was higher than the number of registered voters in Ogun State. I was in the Supreme Court. I covered the Supreme Court judgment, in 2006. So that people rig the election, you cannot, anybody can rig an election. But I'm saying that in a free and fair election, Obasanjo, even in Ibogun, where he comes from, he cannot guarantee you electoral victory. He cannot, and he knows it. He does not have it. Even if he supported some candidates in the past, he supported them with his might as a president. Remember, he's not a president at this time. The party, the PDP, was not even in power. The PDP was strong, but it wasn't Obasanjo alone that made the PDP strong. Don't forget that he was in prison. They brought him out to come and contest. The spade work was done by other people. Statistics can sometimes be misleading. Yes, you will say, okay, he supported Yaradua, and Yaradua became president, but he was a sitting president at that time. And they did all that they had to do to rig the election. And the beneficiary of the rigging came out to say, look, I'm a product of rigging. And because Yaradua had the conscience, the good conscience that most politicians don't have, he set machinery in motion for the reform of our electoral process. The whole idea of reforming our electoral process was instigated by President Yaradua, and Goodluck Jonathan continued along that line, making a member of the Electoral Reform Committee, the Ways Electoral Reform Committee, the chairman of INEC, and that's Professor Mahmoud Jegai was a member of that panel. So since Yaradua admitted that it was a product of rigging, I don't think it makes sense to be praising somebody that he guaranteed that victory. After all, in those days, they used to simply write figures. So writing figures, the president will give directive that, okay, and we don't want to lose this state. Go and make sure that we win. So that is the thing. The truth is, Obasanjo does not have electoral value even if he had it in the past, he does not have it at this time. And it is even wrong to attribute all of the victories of the PDP to him.
Yeah.
He was not the only person in the PDP. Even they brought him out of prison, out of Yola prison, and made him president. He didn't do the work. Other people did the work. And they said, okay, you are the person that we wanted. And he lost in Yoruba land, where he came from at that time.
Alfred, no, Adedakpo Ajiboye says, OBJ is going about destroying his house and bringing disunity within the family of 3 children. Either these or that, he will remain important after the election. Well, we also want to warn those that are commenting in our chat box that we please desist from spamming the comment section. It's actually meant for serious business. It's not for you to be spamming it. Automatically, the YouTube algorithm will just take you out if you're spamming the comment section. Just one comment and that's all. Well, we'll say thank you. That's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses, as always. BKO. We could hear the bird chirping over the tree there.
Yes, Yola is a beautiful place, good network of roads and all that. It's such a beautiful thing to explore our country. And I'm happy to be here. Very soon I'll be back in Lagos for the final leg of the electoral season.
Absolutely, absolutely. We look forward to that, and may God bring you back to Lagos safely. And thanks to you to our audience for joining us on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim TVC News. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.